And to do so, I request our moderator, Mr. Ashutosh Saboo, Senior Manager Marketing edForce, to please come upon the stage. Big round of applause, everyone. Mr. Ashutosh Saboo is a Senior Marketing and Communications Manager at edForce with nearly a decade of experience in the training industry. He holds impressive qualifications in communication management, journalism, and commerce with recognized achievements in marketing and communication roles. Can we have a big round of applause for our moderator? And I request all of you to keep applauding while I welcome our panelist, Mr. Kapil Mahajan, Head Business Human Resource, TATA Advanced System Limited, and Mr. Sravan Medapati, Director Learning Lead, DCX Academy, Capgemini. Can we keep applauding, everyone? I also request Mr. Vinay Puppala, Director Human Resources, Diebold, Nixdorf, to please come upon. And also Mr. Mathew Thomas, Senior Director Learning and Development 24/7 AI. Also Ms. Padmaja Naraharisetty, Head L&OD Aragen Life Sciences. Ms. Sonica Aron, CEO Marching Sheep. And Ms. Cireesha Mailavarapu, AVP HR Sodexo. Please come upon the stage. I request you all to please give a big, big round of applause for all our moderator and panelists here on the stage.
Thank you, and welcome all of you. It was nice having a little chat outside. And we would be very mindful. I understand that you guys are very hungry and you'll be waiting for lunch. So none of us would take more than 3 minutes and open the floor for you to ask us questions. Do keep noting the question because everyone will speak in a flow and you might forget to ask the question. So please feel free. Our topic for today, let me break down it in pieces so that it's better for understanding. So it's basically when we are talking about the transformative role, the word transformative here does mean causing an important lasting impact on someone or an organization in all. When I say digital workplace, a collective of technologies that create a virtual digital office. In this topic, we are discussing more about a digital workplace, digital topic, like digital offices which are taking shape currently post-COVID especially. Agility, the power of moving quickly, we understand that. And resilience, the ability to recover from and exist easily. So, when we discuss about the transformative role of HR and L&D, it basically means your role in shaping digital workplace for enhanced agility and resilience. So again, we're talking about your role in a digital workplace. I'll start with Mr. Sravan from Capgemini. Sir, how are HR and L&Ds, that means everyone here, leveraging digital technologies to enhance employee engagement and productivity in a digital workplace?
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody.
A little closer.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so my response would be, most of you are already understanding how the digital transformation has happened post-COVID. So when you look at the L&D as a practice and the digital transformation in L&D, I'll be speaking in context of L&D completely. So the first thing is, we haven't seen these things so big pre-COVID, but after COVID, if you look at the digitalization, the first thing that got into place is online learning platforms. So the number of online learning platforms have grown multiple fold, and the online learning platforms are the first thing that comes to everybody's mind when you're talking about digitalizing the L&D world. The second thing that comes to everybody's mind are the collaboration tools. So the number of collaboration tools that were existing earlier versus when you look at it from the time 2022 or 2021 kind of a time frame, the number of collaboration tools have also increased a lot, and L&D is no exception, that it is also using these collaboration tools to enhance the learning experience of the people. And then again, the new concept of phygital is coming into the picture, where not all the companies are yet into it, but still they are thriving. There are companies which are thriving on this phygital concept, and L&D is trying to embrace this phygital, not completely yet, but at least some are trying to do it, where the concept of physical and the virtual reality are being merged together to bring in the concepts of AR, VR, XR into the realm of learning, where people are given much more in the concept of not just learning, but in the space of learning by doing, where they are not physically doing anything, but they are getting that virtual reality. And then the other thing that we have is, along with the online learning platforms, nowadays everybody, they may not have a pen in their pocket, but definitely they have a mobile phone in their pocket. So mobile learning apps have come into the picture. Every online learning platform has got one app associated with it. So these are some of the things. On top of it, you have a lot of LXPs that are coming into picture, where they offer you the personalized learning requirements based on your learning habits. It is recommending the learnings that you have to do it. So if we go on, there are a lot of things, but a lot of panel members are there, so I'll put myself on pause over here and then pass it over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure someone will end up asking more questions because the topics did sound a little nice. So you talked about online learning platforms and these online libraries online. More than a platform, haven't they become an online library? Because wherein a person is teaching you and you have that YouTube pause kind of a feeling, a video pause kind of a feeling, where in a library, when I go to a library, I don't study. I browse through what I wish to. But when someone is teaching me, like a classroom, it's a different experience altogether. So that's why at edForce we have started believing somewhere that a live instructor-led training is much better than these apps and these platforms. I'm not discouraging anything else, but we have drastically seen the kind of learner engagement which has taken shape. And also about the we have also ventured into a VR experience center, and totally, sir, as you were talking about a VR experience in Delhi, we have partnered with. It's a total game ball altogether, which we are not even aware about till now. Taking me to the next question with Padmaja ji. So, what are the strategies we all, again, HR and L&D leaders, employ to foster a culture of continuous learning and upscaling, again, in a digital environment?
Thank you.
I think it's not on. Can you please pass this?
Thank you. So good afternoon, everybody. He was talking about the culture, and I think, who owns the culture? So that was the first question which came to my mind. Is it the CEOs who look at the top line, who promote the top line, or is it the CFOs who look at the bottom line? Or is it the CHRO who bridges the gap between the business strategy and the... I don't think anybody else can talk this language except for HR, to be very honest. We own the culture, or rather, it's proud to be owning a culture, and whether it is a high performance culture or highly inclusive culture, or a continuous learning culture. Now, since we take the ownership of this continuous learning, how do we drive it is the next question. So what we have done at Aragen Life Sciences is that we got it included in the KRA of the employees, and what we told them was, apart from the performance goals, we also attach a weightage to your development goal. So here we are talking about the career goal of the employee, which is personalized and very close to their hearts, because we are talking about their career and their progression. And we told them it's a very powerful goal because all of you, if you take yourself to the next level, and imagine all the 5,000 employees taking themselves to the next best version of themselves, you're taking the organization to the next level. So that's how we sold it, and then we got it into the development goal, number one. Number two, what we have done was we realized that there are a lot of performance leaks when people move from one band to another band. Like Sonica was talking about a case study of hers in the managerial capability. So by virtue of your credentials or performance, people move up the ladder. But unfortunately, they do not, build their capabilities along the way, up in the career ladder. So what we have devised was we came up with band transition programs, and then we also came up with IDPs for the leadership level, number two. Number three, what we have done was we came up with a L&D policy, and then we said enough of this push, and now it has to be a pull factor from the employees. So each employee is supposed to be clocking in, let's say around 25 hours. That is what we started with. We started with 20 hours of learning, and now we moved the needle to 25 hours. We plan to move it to 40 hours. So that's what we said, and we made a dashboard available for them so that, at any given point in time during the financial year, they can go to the dashboard, look at how many hours of learning they've clocked in, and accordingly enroll themselves and push for nomination by the manager, done by themselves. So in other words, they're owning the learning. Number four, what we have done was we have started something called as operational excellence. We picked it up as a theme, and then we focused on the process improvements, and we said we will run Kaizen as a culture across the organization. And we had around 100 projects, and each project had about 5 people who were spearheading this process improvement across the organization. So there was a continuous learning that was happening, said unsaid. And looking at the digital environment, because we are talking about the digital learning and the digital environment, we always saw technology as a means to an end and never an end in itself, to be very, very honest. So what we've done was HR has always been adaptive from a function which represented the IR and PR to a function which started leveraging the AR and VR, from the days of OHP to the days of LXP, right? And from striking a balance between AI and EI. So that is what we've been doing. And initially when we started the virtual learning during the COVID days, there was a pushback from all my team, all my trainers. They said, this is not going to work. We've always been in the classroom, interacting, looking at the facial expressions, looking at the body language. It's not going to work. But then the moment we realized that Zoom has the breakout rooms, it has the whiteboard facilities, so everybody started getting acclimatized to the change that we were in for. So that's how we started virtual learning. That's how we started. LMS was always there. And slowly we started moving towards LXP now, creating those individualized, personalized learning experience that some of the speakers were talking about. There came in the learning journeys concept. And then we started pushing bite-sized learning to the leaders, which are quick and easily consumable. Just like, the cricket matches, which are test matches, they came to one-day matches, and then, 2020. You don't know where it is going to end. Maybe it's a 5 over or a 10 over. So what we did was it's a 2 or 3 minute quick bite-sized learnings, which we gave to the leaders, and we the frequency was set, and that was being shared. And we also had simulation-based learning, the experiential learning, so that they have hands-on experience. It's just not the concepts, but then it is also experiential learning. And we also had gamified learning. So that's something that where we use the technology to a larger extent to drive the learning. So our approach was clear. Our objective in driving the learning culture was clear, and then we started leveraging the technology to drive that culture. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. You totally did. Also, when I talk about fostering a culture of continuous learning, there's a new thing which I don't know if you guys have experienced it or not. There's a concept of reverse learning where an intern is teaching the CEO of the company, which is a beautiful phenomenon I've seen these days, and it's working hands-on, rather than passing it through the channels. The information is directly being learned from even a mid-level or blue collar to directly the CEO,
Very
which is
true, because
beautiful.
like somebody said, Gen Z and Gen Alpha to come, and obviously they have hands-on with the digital learning and other platforms as well,
Yeah.
and hence, yeah.
Great. Moving to Vinay ji from Diebold Nixdorf, right? Diebold Nixdorf, sorry. So again, when we are talking about an informed decision and talent development strategies, yeah, what role does data analysis play in that?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you very much for having me here. Um, Sonica has shown the case study in the previous session, how the attrition is impacting the company, which was battling with 48%. We were exactly in the same situation in 2022, though we are not as bad as 48%, we are at 31% end of 2022. So when it comes to data, mining, how it can impact in making the decisions, prior to 2021, we were more of a traditional approach of managing entire, HR processes like talent acquisition, onboarding, everything was part of the location HR responsibilities. But as the company is evolving, we have centralized the teams, we have created a center of excellences. So talent acquisition went to the TA as a separate function. Onboarding has become a central team. All the stuff happened, and we felt that that model works well, and they are better expertise in handling those work. Eventually, in 2022, when a lot of work is transitioning from global regions to Hyderabad, a lot of hiring is happening. We're in the flow of hiring, and business is, recruiting and make them train and put them on the job. But end of the day, one piece that we have missed is completely new hire experience or employee. In the flow of rush of hiring, uh, the complete employee experience has taken a beat, and when by end of 2022 we are at 31% attrition, and Sonica has shown that that is a problem statement for that company, and we were also in the same situation when we went back to the problem.
Sorry, the flow just.
So we looked at the problem statement, and the data played very, very important role. As an organization, we have a HR analytics team who provides Power BI reports on month-on-month basis. And we looked at those data, and we felt that the early quits is contributing a lot to the attrition challenge. And we felt that, what we can do. So our senior leadership has given a target to me, because I am the location HR head, do whatever you have to bring down from 31% to less than, definitely below 30%. So when I looked at the problem, we felt that we are in a rush, we are hiring, we are making people to work. But I went to the business with this data that there is a challenge with early quits, there is a problem with the handling the new hires, providing the new employee experience, and we have to do something. So we have come up with a process in creating the new employee experience by, every day we used to hire on daily basis to meet the requirements. We felt that we have to go back to bi-weekly, onboarding dates. That helps in standardizing, centralizing a lot of strategies, a lot of activities, so that business and HR can come together and drive a lot of new onboarding experiential initiatives. So that data has played very, very important role in addressing that problem. And by 2023, from 31%, we are at 25%.
Wow, 6%.
So that is a 6% reduction in overall attrition. And that was my major KRA for 2023. So we felt very happy by intervening and implementing those initiatives helped us in achieving our results.
That's great. A drastic drop in 6% also matters in this, and we can certainly now feel the importance of data analytics and how it can be implied. Moving to someone from a very interesting company, Sodexo. So, Cireesha, I have a question for you. How our L&D and HR leaders, again, you all, addressing challenges related to remote work, virtual teams, and digital communication in modern workplace, again, totally related to digital workplaces.
Thanks, Ashutosh. So I'll again go back to the same point that Sravan has mentioned. So there are definitely more number of mobile phones than pens in the room, right? And also the core challenge becomes the focus, because especially when we go virtual, when we are trying to manage virtual teams or employees working hybrid, it becomes more and more difficult to grab their focus, right? Especially when they're at home, so there's a lot of distraction too. So how do we engage them, especially into these training programs? So in Sodexo, I manage a role where I do have a workforce of around 26,000 employees under me. So there's huge kind of number of trainings that keep happening.
That's almost the half of the workforce of Sodexo, right?
Sodexo is 52,000 employees
so you have half of
in India, and half of it is in South. And I would definitely proudly say that South is flourishing, and there's a lot of opportunities that have opened up after COVID. So many companies bringing back employees to work. So though some of the challenges have come down, still hybrid remains to be there for some of the places. So how do we have that attention for employees and keep them trained, keep them upskilled throughout? So we have changed the model wherein we started calling it more of workshops than the traditional trainings. So we have changed our gears in that way. So we make it more scenario-based workshops where we very clearly capture the outcomes, and later the PMO team again tracks the outcomes into results. So that's how we tried keeping the teams engaged. And along with it, we also tried making the trainings crisp. So there are no more trainings more crisp.
Okay.
Crisp, shorter.
Wow.
Yeah, short and sweet kind of a trainings. So that way also it is becoming little possible for us to keep the teams engaged. Imagine the same set of people joining us over a virtual meeting than being there in this room. So being here itself, it is very difficult to have their focus, but imagine being there with us through a virtual platform, it is more and more difficult, right? To keep them engaged, we are trying to make it more crisp. We are totally relying on tools and technology. So again, but as leaders, we should also ensure we have multiple tools that are available for employees. As we were talking about the different generations that we are working with, not everyone will look at one kind of a tool or technology. There are multiple options. We also need to provide them so that we also cater to their needs. So people keep it very open in terms of communication, have the access provided to the leaders or to their managers, and keep them engaged. Keeping them engaged has become more and more difficult, but that's a challenge thrown to all of us, and I'm sure we all have navigated very well in the face of COVID, and now we're used to it.
Sure. And the best part is there is way too much distraction also available with everyone, right? So the distraction is, again, one of the reasons. The more the tools, the more the distractions, the more the technology.
Especially when working mothers were there at home during the COVID phase. So imagine managing children, imagine managing a home with a very, very minimal support of maids. Still, we all have navigated that phase. So I'm sure we have seen the worst, and now it is not difficult for us.
You remind me of all those calls I have had with working women from home online. इसमें एक बारी तो कुकर की सीटी बजती है पीछे से.
I was just about to say that, the cooker whistle.
या किसी का बच्चा.
I'm sure all of us.
My son, 1.5 year, he also ends up crying in every call.
क्यों आदमियों के साथ मीटिंग्स में पीछे से कुकर की सीटी नहीं बजती?
अरे नहीं, वर्किंग वुमेन के लिए तो बजती है. मेरे यहाँ तो बच्चा बजता है ना, क्योंकि मेरी बीवी तो किचन में है.
Sorry, this was bias.
I'll take a lesson of cooking from you for sure.
Thanks.
Yeah. So next question is to Mathew. A very simple, plain question, which is the biggest thing happening here today. We are supposed to address. How are you undertaking to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion in digital workplace? Because people are so far away from each other, and there are so many challenges involved. How are you able to cope up with it? Or how we should?
Sure. First, after seeing Sonica's presentation, you should have definitely taken this question, but definitely step in. So these are about predominant gaps that I'm seeing, right? So I work in an organization, and I'll be very honest, I think that we make efforts, but we don't really do this very well in terms of the DEI piece. So it's really about building community. I'm talking about two different tenets that I would look at as opportunity areas. One is hiring or talent acquisition, specifically to underrepresented communities in your organization. So I think that it can't be one size fits all, right? We have to have different channels. Our JDs itself have to be worded differently for these different communities itself. So that side of effort is definitely something that HR can make, and that's something that, you know, I'll be very honest, I don't see that in my organization. So there might be other organizations that are doing that, but these are some of the opportunities that I see in hiring, because when we had Selena talk about getting them into the party, that's one of the major pieces, right? And if we're not following the right channels in terms of hiring, and especially things like JDs can be anywhere, right? I can access your website from any tier 2, tier 3 city,
Yes.
and making that available for them, and having the ability to apply and giving some concessions for these communities is definitely something that organizations need to prioritize, right? And the second piece, I mean, there's multiple different pieces, and I know that experts can speak on it. Second piece I see is connecting this to a manager's KPI or KRA, right? So performance obviously is going to be your number one piece. People development might be your second biggest piece in terms of your deliverable as a people manager. But there needs to be a part about building community. And that's the same thing that starts from hiring somebody and making sure that they stay on. So this community, we know these underrepresented communities have a higher percentage or ratio leaving during the onboarding period, the 0 to 30 phase, right? So that onboarding itself needs to be specifically catered to the needs of these communities. And that's something that I think all of this is an investment, right? And why do we invest? We invest to get a return, right? And I'm not saying investment as, you know, a jargon. I'm just saying when you look at some of the biggest companies in the world, right? Indians or Indian Americans make up less than 2% of the United States population, right? But we know that Alphabet, Google is headed by a South Indian guy.
Yeah.
We know that Google is headed by a guy who went to school here in Hyderabad, right? And so these are diversity hires. We know that Apple is headed by Tim Cook, who's part of the LGBT community. Those three companies put together have a market capitalization of $8 trillion,
Wow.
right? Just to put that into context, you know, when you get into zeros, that many zeros, India's GDP is 4 trillion. So the market capitalization of these three organizations who are headed by diversity hires is double what we are doing as a nation, right? So there is gains that can be made from a business proposition standpoint if you invest in these communities, and these are all investments. OD, L&D, HR, talent acquisition will have to put in different streams that are specific to these underrepresented communities. But you see these gains. This is what you see. You see some of the largest organizations that have meeting both their goals from a Wall Street standpoint as well as, you know, their DEI standpoint are the guys who are definitely going to be the future. And I think organizations that are stale or unable to make this change are going to fall behind, especially in the virtual space, because people are going to be far more comfortable where there are communities that they can feel like they belong to.
Totally. I understand there's also an issue. There are already so many filters in the JD that meeting the diversity and inclusion just at times comes last in the plate, because yeah, there are already so many filters to find the perfect guy.
Right. I just want to add one piece. That, you know, I made a LinkedIn. Somebody I connected with LinkedIn. She started off with just her and her sister starting an organization catering specific to this in Bangalore. And this was about 18 months ago, I think. I connected with her, and she has now got 3 different locations in India catering to this. So obviously, there's a premium, and the organization needs to pay that premium. But like I said, this is an investment that will pay dividends in the future.
Will flush you, yeah, totally. Thanks, Mathew, for your input. Moving to Kapil Mahajanji. So, sir, what are the key components of a successful digital learning strategy? One part of the question. And the other part is, how do you measure its effectiveness?
So good afternoon, everyone.
before I just come to the answer of this question, I think it's important that it is very specific to the industry type. You know. I come from an industry which is sunrise industry in India, and that is aerospace and defense. And as an organization, any strategy, or I'm sure all of you in your strategy discussion also, it is very, very important to take decisions on two perspectives. The first perspective is that is the talent is going to be built in the organization, or we are going to buy the talent. Because any investment which you are going to do in terms of building the capability will always get influence what is the kind of strategy you are going to adopt. So that's the one part of which is very, very important in terms of understanding. Second, as an HR and L&D colleagues, how good we understand the critical business success factors. If our success factor understanding is absolutely in place, I think any strategy or any component of the strategy which you are going to build up will definitely help business to excel.
Totally.
So these two things we took in consideration when we started our digital learning journey sometimes in 2021. We deliberated a lot because us as a company, we don't have much of talent to buy from the market. Because being a sunrise industry, we need to build that talent. And hence, there was a strong conviction inside the organization that if we need to build the talent inside the organization, we must be absolutely very clear that how we are going to create those components of that strategy which helps us to build that capability which makes us differentiated than any other organization in the industry we are operating today. And with that understanding, we focused largely on the three components. The first, we took understanding about what is the learning objective as an organization we are going to take, which must has been driven from the organization strategy. So that's the first component we have taken as a part of the strategic discussions. Second, we took the understanding because you're going to do this on people, on talent, it is important to take the learning preferences into the consideration. So what is the kind of learning spread we are going to offer to our colleagues in terms of building their capability to meet the kind of learning objective we are looking forward to do that. And third, because we are into a technical organization, a very high precision engineering industry, it's very, very important also to take in consideration what is the proficiency level we are going to be achieved with all the strategic input which we are going to put across of it. So these are the three components as an organization we took in consideration. And when we took this in consideration, we try to build a very strong content which is not enriched in terms of its conceptual understanding, but also have an element of attentions and desire into that entire content. We try to make the entire component more from a personalized specification, that how much it is personal to me and how much it is helping me to adopt that learning in terms of my learning preferences.
True.
And third, we also brought the element of doing assessment periodically to understand whether my learning is helping me to achieve my proficiency levels or not. So these are the three things we've taken into consideration as a part of the component. Coming back to the second part of this question about how we measured those effectiveness. So our measurement of effectiveness was also been very much linked with those components.
Okay.
So we did the skill assessment and competency evaluation every year to ensure to judge whether the content are helping colleagues to improve their proficiency levels or not. So that was very, very visible across the entire organization perspective. Second, what we did, we also integrated the entire learning components into the KPIs, into the entire performance metrics, so that this is also get measured in terms of understanding how much productivity has been improved or the quality of the work has been improved in the entire process of it.
Sure.
The third, we brought the return on asset, because you are investing in terms of deploying the asset to ensure
Yes.
that people gets a great learning experience.
Yes.
So is that investment on the asset could able to help us to achieve the learning objective across the entire scope of the talent inside the organization or not? So these are the works which we have done in last couple of months and years, and very happy to inform you that this not only help us to continuously achieving
the higher proficiency levels at individual level, it also increased the organization effectiveness in delivering those critical success business factors. So that's my input.
Very nice, sir. Before I shoot to the next 3 minutes, we'll be only left with 2 minutes for question answers. And I know the lady in the beautiful sari was being looked for some question. The red Ajrak. Beautiful, ma'am. Everyone wanted to compliment. And I think people had questions in the last session also. They didn't get a chance. So I'm sure you will be able to shoot your questions this time. I have a question for you. Interesting one. How do HR and L&D leaders foster agility and resilience among employees through digital transformative initiatives?
That's a brilliant question. So, see, first and foremost, I will second what Padmaja said, that technology is not the destination. It is the means to success, right? Now, very often I see that, industry best practice kya hai, hame bhi karni hai, right? Instead of taking that route, today just about every app, every software, every AI tool gives you at least 2 weeks of free demo time. Hai na? So you try it out. See if it works for you. Ask them to give you demo. If you want to extend after 2 weeks, take another 2 weeks. If you want to pay for 1 month for a small team, do it for a small team, but first see if it works for you. And then you take it. That is number one. The second thing is, right now the entire negative media around it. Google laid off X number of people because their entire marketing, some marketing, digital marketing was taken over by AI. So-and-so company is going to lay off so many people because this function got taken over by AI.
Totally, the scare business has come to this.
It has created a lot of fear in people and there is going to be resistance. Can we change the narrative within our own organizations and say that, listen, this is going to be an enabler? There are things in all our jobs which are mundane, repetitive, boring, and they do not add any value. So for example, if I have to collect MIS because I have to do analytics, can I get a tool to do that collection for me, and then I'm applying my brains to do the analytics and coming up with solutions? Every time we do an assignment, we tell the client that, listen, there are leading indicators and there are lagging indicators. If I go to, when Vinay was talking about his 31% attrition to ho gaya na? That is the lagging indicator. The leading indicators was to understand that why is that early indicator happening, early attrition happening. Now, how can he leverage technology and not hire like 10 interns to get that data?
Sure.
To my mind, using that, if you have to use AI to have those stay interviews in your organization, because you need to do stay interviews, your workforce mindset is evolving every 6 months. So you cannot say कि मैंने साल में एक बार employee engagement survey करवा लिया from anywhere and I'm good. You need to do pulse surveys, but can we use AI to do that? And then somebody applies their brains, right? Can we have AI to track leading indicators which help us get to how we can improve our lagging indicators? I think that is where we need to focus on.
Totally.
That would be my answer to your question. And coming back to, sorry, just D&I. See, today when we are working remotely and we are talking about digital workplace, diversity is not just about gender. It is not just about men and women. When we look at our workplace and our workforce today, our workforce is diverse in terms of which region they come from, what is their life stage. Are they single, married, engaged, with kids, without kids? Do they have caretaking responsibilities? a lot of companies are still stuck on हमको premier institute से candidates चाहिए. तो आपका educational background क्या है? What is your work experience? Right? All of these are dimensions of diversity, cognitive diversity. How do I learn? What is my way of communication? What is my language, my first language, my second language? Now, when we were in an office, घंटी किसने बजाई? Okay, when we were in an office, right, these interactions or problems arising out of these differences was easy, right? There was no scope for misunderstanding. But today, it can cause misunderstanding. People can feel misunderstood, whether it is a team member or it is the manager.
Certainly.
So that is where how can we leverage technology, because हम नहीं मिल रहे हैं रोज.
Totally.
Right? So
I can
that is
understand
something I would
that.
like.
Yeah. Sorry, our time is up, but still, I'll request. Can we take 2 questions? Just 2 questions? Yeah. Any questions anyone has for anyone? No? I think everyone's very hungry for lunch. It's good. Everyone's available here. Please take their time. They are available to answer your questions if you have any. I hope the panel discussion did lead us somewhere. And it was a very constructive conversation. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone, for a beautiful chat here. Over to Gaines.